Welcome to SwitchCorner, my name is Alex. Today we're going to be taking a look at Prodeus on the Nintendo Switch, and specifically this, it's going to be a performance review. So how does it play, how are the modes, does it pack gyro controls, how is that frame rate, and finally how does it look. So with that, hit subscribe, join us here for reviews and deals daily, and let's get started. Prodeus then is a retro-inspired first-person shooter with some modern sensibilities, a love letter to the likes of Doom, and in my eyes that is never a bad thing. Now over the first couple of hours of gameplay we've seen more than a few enemy types, leveraged everything from our fists to rocket launchers, and done more than a bit of fast-paced shooting. It's very much a game that's been designed to overwhelm you with its enemy count, and it will always be best to keep moving as well as jumping. The maps, they seem extremely well designed throughout, from tight corridors to larger open spaces. It's calling for a different strategy at every turn. It even then packs 7 different difficulty options, from very easy to ultra hard. These, they impact the amount of damage enemies can deal as well as their health bars. You also then get a rating at the end of each level based on enemies cleared, time to beat, and a slew of other factors. I'm all for this, as it's just one more reason to replay through it again, if not multiple times, and we even then get built-in achievements as well. This one, it packs multiplayer, though it's worth knowing that it is online only. There is no crossplay feature, and it supports up to 16 players dependent on the mode you play. On a single system, it is sadly single player only. Now looking at the options, we have not only competitive, so think deathmatch and team deathmatch, but also co-op. So that's going to be in the form of choosing a single map and battling it out together, or even working through the entire campaign, which is always a welcome addition. That said though, I picked it up at launch and I'm yet to find a lobby. It seems on other platforms I'm already hearing that these lobbies are few and far between, so it may be worth waiting initially, seeing if it picks up, or picking it up alongside friends. Also then, while it's not multiplayer, it does have map creation and upload. It seems to be online where you do the making itself. I couldn't find an option in game, but here you can find a near endless number of levels to download and take on. Basically it makes the content near endless, which is just a fantastic addition and perhaps my favourite feature of the overall package. Controls then are simple. I will start with the disappointing news though, no gyro controls have been implemented. Thankfully, however, it comes with a slew of options, from acceleration to sensitivity to the ability to invert. You can even remap the controls as you please in the options, and it's also extremely old school through and through, so do not expect anything slow paced such as, crouching. It's aim, shoot, and alt fire. You can jump, you can sprint, you can dash. There's an interaction button and a map to view as well. It's not really out to challenge you with complex inputs, nor should it be. The sprint option then finally, that is a toggle initially, but it can be turned on permanently in the options menu. Okay, so graphically this is where things for me started to get a little bit weird. Having watched a ton of footage on other platforms, I even briefly checked it out on the Xbox. Very much had an idea of what to expect. A retro look though, I'd call it an extremely clean resolution to back it all up, and that's not quite the game I got here, nor is it particularly represented by the screenshots on the eShop. It seems those were taken from another build, as the gameplay here, it is quite a bit more pixelated. It's not to say it's bad either, it's naturally in keeping with the influences, but I was surprised. There's quite a bit of blur to this world that wasn't expected going in. It's also worth noting I did consider this may be a visual option that was a preset in the menus, but there's nothing here that does make an improvement. That said though, it is still going to be worth jumping into the options and tweaking a few things to balance it as you please. This includes a screen overlay, that's pixel, scanline and CRT, as well as strength. Right now you're looking at pixel with a 0 strength. There is no off option at all, and actually I think that is what is missing. You can then change the colour and the brightness. You can even enable additional shadows from multi-direction light sources. Do be aware though, with that option it definitely comes at the cost of frame rates. You can also then turn on a minimal HUD option should you prefer. You can remove the gun entirely, you can change the crosshair, you can change the field of view in fact. One option that has me curious though, it has an option to use 3D models instead of sprites for enemies. And yeah, when I switched it on and off, I actually noticed no difference at all, which I thought was extremely strange. All of this then, it's not to say it's bad, it just feels even more old school now. The sprites do actually work visually quite a bit better in this world, and the level design has looked fantastic, from tight corridors to open landscapes flowing with lava. It's definitely not winning any awards on an originality front, but I do feel it's aggressively working its way through the checklist of what an old school shooter should be. It's topped off then with some creepy enemy design and some great gun models. Enemy wise, I think everything from basic foot drones to those that fly to those that look like they walked straight out an episode of Stranger Things. The blood then, it's incredibly over the top as enemies explode and lose limbs, and that, it's just top quality design right there as it washes over your screen. So yeah, basically visually it is decent stuff, but I can't deny I'm a little disappointed to see the compromises still that have been made, especially when you take a look at those eShop images. Frame rate then is where things get really strange. Doctor wise, it's aiming for 60 but aggressively fluctuates. The funny thing is, this is consistent, but in the opening levels, mostly corridor based, I would have never guessed it's actually jumping somewhere between 45 and 60. It never really feels that way at all, and my ability to aim and fire, I really didn't see an impact. That said, though, a couple of levels in, you get to more wide open spaces, and here you'll transition corridors and rooms to the great outdoors, and it seems they've went with a model that naturally adapts, pushing for 30, those larger locations, which drops to 27, but if you turn around a corner, let's say, and there's a small enough space, it's going to fire all of the way back up to 60. Not really seen anything quite like it before, and honestly, it never actually feels that bad except for when you do hit the region of 30. That constant fluctuation though in these moments, you definitely do notice. It's quickly recognizable, the impact it's making on your ability to succeed. I think for me, a locked out frame rate, not even 60 necessarily, would have been the better option, as it would provide a consistency for the player that they no longer need to worry about. Again, as well, as I mentioned, turning on shadows will impact this even further as well. I also noticed auto sprint causes some issues as well, so do take that as a warning. It's definitely nice to have that shadow option specifically in here, but it doesn't seem it was really intended for this build. So overall, I can't say I'm not a little disappointed. I grew up with the likes of Doom and Duke Nukem, so I jump on nearly every shooter like this one that pays tribute to them. So far as well, it's been packed with some grotesque enemy designs, unique locations, fun gunplay thanks to a slew of different weapons. And yeah, there's even a kick-ass soundtrack full of metal, which is what you always want to see. It's basically clear to me this team, they're passionate, it's absolutely feature rich as well, you know, campaign mode, online creation, multiplayer, though again best picking it up with friends, no crossplay. It's even topped off with like level scores and even built-in achievements. You cannot deny this is how you do, you know, a release the right way. That said though, the graphics, they've taken quite an aggressive turn, meaning it's probably now for those that like an old school look only. And that frame rate then, a really unusual implementation they could definitely do with a patch, maybe even an option of performance or graphics, because for me, I actually think in this case I'd actually be leaning towards 30 frames per second locked for that consistency, because it seems like that would be reachable for the game in its current state. What do you all think though? Let me know in the comments down below, and with that, hit subscribe, join us here for reviews and deals daily, and I'll see you all on the next video. Thanks everyone.